I'm back with the amazing Rosalyn Masterson, also known as Ra Ra. Ra Ra is the author of The Storm is Over. Today we will be discussing chapter 4 called The Men in My Life. Rosalyn, this was a very compelling chapter. I want to thank you for your raw honesty that you expose to all of us readers in this chapter. Although we will not talk about all the men mentioned in this chapter, I thought it best to discuss most of them. I also want to mention that to protect these men's identity, we have chosen different names for all of them. All right. Thanks for being here with us.
Thanks for having me again.
All right. Are we ready to start?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So, Rosalyn, in this chapter, you say that your choice of men has rarely been good, and that many of these men who entered your life were abusive as well as addicts and alcoholics. In your own perspective, why do you think this was your reality with these men?
Because this was my reality with these men. This is all that I knew. This is what I was surrounded with. This is all that was around me. As I watch others in my family, I was not that far off. Pretty much every woman in my family, they had these same abusive, sick, alcohol-induced relationships. So if that's all I had, that's all I had.
And do you also think it is a result of not having positive men in your life?
As a result of not having the positive men in my life, I didn't have positive role models. My grandpa dying at such an early age, and then my father not really being around. So no one modeled what a healthy, positive male figure was. Like I said, these women picking these men, and they just it was what it was. So no, I did not have no positive role models, male role model.
Thank you. You had a motto. It comes up in your book. I've also heard you in certain speaker events say this, and it goes like this: I'd rather be an old man's baby than a young man's fool. Why do you think this type of thinking evolved?
I believe I kind of like that, and it holds truth to me. It may not be others' reality, but they were not as mean. But also these older men, they had money, they had transportation, and it didn't require much. They did not ask much. It was just that the gentleness, and I guess by them being old, I mean 10, 20, maybe 20, 30 years my senior. And so, for somebody to be that old, they would always be able to supply me with alcohol. It started with alcohol because it took a while before I actually was starting smoking marijuana. And when somebody old, they just, drinkers and cigar smokers and violent, some of them.
In your book, you mention that the first person that you ever had sex with was your brother. Your older brother. How long did this occur?
I believe we touched on this last week, and I also know that it didn't happen often. But we were children, and honestly, my memory, if my memory serves me right, I'm really drawing a blank, but I know that we played house. And so, we used to play house, and we did not do it often. And so it didn't occur often, but I was too young because I don't even recall whether or not if we went all the way. And what I mean, if he actually, I don't even know, I can't remember if he actually was on top of me and penetrated me, because we were kids, we were playing.
Who elicited this? You, him?
It would have to be him. It would have to be him. It would have to be him. So yes.
So he was the one coming up to you saying,
We're
Rah,
gonna
rah, let's
play
play
house.
house.
Yes, yes.
Not
yes.
the other way around.
Right, right.
When did this interaction between you and your brother stop?
Like I said, Sheila, it was not often. Once or twice at the most. It was not an ongoing deal like you hearing these stories like women are talking about their families and like say for instance their father coming in their room every night. That was not the deal with me and Andre. That did not occur.
Okay. I still see you as a victim in this. Do you see yourself as a victim in this situation with your brother?
I see myself as a little girl not knowing right from wrong. I just see myself as just it is what it is. I did what I did. So I'm not for sure if I was a victim, or if I was a willing player,
Did any of your family members know or ever find out that that was happening between you and your brother?
Probably not. Probably not.
Okay.
Probably not.
When your brother Andre would elicit you for sexual favors, he would bribe you with candy or some sort of goodie. Tell us how these bribes affected the way you saw sex when you were older.
The same way that I allowed men to use me. I bribed them. I guess this is the right way. I got something you want, so here, this is how this is gonna go. So I would have sex with, you're gonna buy the booze and you're gonna buy the pot. And I would have sex with you. And I believe that this is like the beginning of the way things turned out. And then, like, you guys use these words bribery. To me, fair exchange is no robbery, And I did not know, honestly, I did not know that it was wrong, It was wrong the way that things were, but like I said, I got what you want, and this is how we're going to do this.
So it did have a pretty strong effect on you.
It did, because I did know no better. I did know no better. But with Andre, it was candy, and then as I got older, it was alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't buy it. I wasn't old enough to buy it, so they come with it.
Right.
This is what's going to happen in exchange for sex.
Mm. Charles is your son's father. Tell us a little bit about Charles.
Well, he's 6 years my senior. Tall drink of water, tall, dark, and handsome. This is the first guy I believe that I had an erection with. Now I don't know if that's the right word, a climax with, because the men have the erection. But this is the first time something exploded. And to me, that was just like love.
Talk about how old you were and how
I
old he
was 14 and he was 21. 22, 21, 22. Mm-hmm.
And this is the same man we talked about in the last chapter who you became pregnant with at 15.
Had the abortion
got
at 15.
Your abortion.
Yes.
And then between 15 and 19, did you continue to have sexual relations with Charles?
Yes, we continue. Me and Charles, we continued for like 10 years. This was volatile, and it just really just this sexual deal, that never went nowhere. But in my mind, it was love. It was not just sex.
Okay.
And I believed that this guy loved me, and I believed that we were going to be together.
Okay.
So it was just a dead-end street.
And then also there's a part in the book, in this chapter, where, and this happened more than once, where Charles would bring along his friends. And in my opinion, you were gang raped by these men more than once with Charles. You mention in the book that they would play a game of how long they would last with you.
Well, that's the truth. That's the truth. And you say gang rape. I didn't call it gang rape because I was a willing participant. But it was that. It was,
Were you underage?
well, of course I was underage. Yes, because when I met him, he did not have these friends. And then it was a couple of years later. So I would have to say, when all of this was going on, oh God. Yes, so it's a possibility because it was yes, it was a possibility, you know. But I believe if my memory served me right, I had Marcus. I had my firstborn. So it was at 19, 18 or 19. But I remember his friends because it was always the same two guys. Always the same two guys.
It was always the same two guys that would join in this.
Yes.
Why didn't you ever report him or his friends to the authorities?
Willing participant. At this time it was the alcohol, and at this time it was the marijuana, and I don't know. How do black folks report? How do black people report authorities? How do we bring authorities in?
How did you feel after it? Did you feel taken advantage of? After
Just
these?
numb. I felt numb and I felt violated. But this is after the booze done wore off and the pot done wore off. So I really felt like I did not count. I did not matter. And so you can say I was just like a dirty piece of rag. I didn't count. So I really felt super bad.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that no one ever knew about.
Mm-hmm.
That's how ashamed it was.
Mm-hmm.
But in the heart of hearts, I know it was wrong. But I allowed it.
Okay.
In the name of love.
Did you ever know of any other underage girls that Charles would involve himself with?
No, I do not. I know that the women that he have children with are older than me, so they were not underage. And what he did outside of me, I cannot answer because I don't know. And how he behaved, I don't know.
How did things finally end with you and Charles? When all this stopped? When no more...
When I got a man that he's not here today, but when I was involved with this relationship, because it was a situation where Charles needed a garage to put one of his cars in, and the guy just, the guy said no, he could not use my garage to store his car in. I don't know what the circumstances was exactly, but I do know that he had came to me and I had said, no, you have to ask.
So you had Marcus at 19 from Charles. How old were you when you and Charles were done?
What, 28? 28? 27, 28?
So this relationship lasted, was it on and off or continuous from 14 to 28?
Oh, girl, it wasn't a date. I mean, it was not no in-between time with me and Charles. I mean, from 14 to 28, he was like a constant. We were always have sex. It wasn't like every week. I wouldn't see him every week. Mm-hmm. But I mean, he was always there. He was always there. And believe it or not, I mean, it's funny now. But if honesty serves me, he even tried to pay child support. And he did do small things for my son, our son, but yeah.
Was he, I mean, obviously with the sexual abuse, but was he physically abusive to you?
Never.
Never.
Well, no, just holding my hands down when I didn't want to have sex. So really forcing himself orally on me when I did not. I don't like that.
Right. So he raped you.
Well, he held me down when I didn't want to be, when I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Oral sex,
Right. Does Charles have any other children from other women?
Well, of course, he was, heck, he was a, yeah. If I'm allowed to say this, he was a hoe. Yes, he has other children. The two ladies I mentioned earlier, you know, he has two sons, and one of the sons actually moved down to his home state. But his son and my son, you know, they were brothers. And, you know, for the short time the Marcus would come around, he was around his brother. So his brother was older than him.
Okay.
They knew of each other.
All right. Moving away from Charles, I want to go to a period in your life when you were 17 and you were sexually involved with a man named Keith in the book. He only takes up a few paragraphs in your book. This relationship was in between the time you had your son Coco from Charles. Keith gets brought up in your book because he hurt you verbally, emotionally, and mentally. Will you talk about Keith with us just a little bit with some of that verbal abuse that went from your head to your heart and stuck there?
Because of the name callings, you know, Keith, like he was not from here, he was from the islands, and Keith, it was, I really don't know where he had room to talk about anybody because he, you know, he was no different from the rest of them. But I believe that he would tell me that I was stupid for allowing these men to use me like this. And I know one time I was down on the points, you know, and this is like when I was 17 years old, and I may have been walking, you know, from one of these weird places, and he happened to see me, and he was just saying, look at you. So the bottom line is, it's the name calling, the way that he would talk about me. And then he would never say, like, women aren't supposed to do that, but he just made me feel really cheap and insignificant with his smelly self.
How long did the relationship with Keith last?
Until he got afraid of my mother, and Sweet had told him something about she could get him for rape, which he just told this to me just about a couple of years ago. And then he just disappeared from the radar. You know, he's not American, so he's from the island, so he just disappeared. One day he here, the next time I turn around, I don't see him or his little car. He just gone. He's just gone.
So your mother got involved?
Well, yeah, Keith was pretty much her taxi. When she was doing her dirt, he would take her around, you know, because at that time he was between jobs, you know, and he just lived around. He didn't live far from us around the corner, but he had transportation and she needed transportation. And I guess she got wind of the relationship with me and Keith.
You were having multiple relationships with various men for a period in your life. Mm-hmm. Some were married or in, I quote, committed relationships. Mm-hmm. Did any of these relationships with these men lead to problems with the so-called, again I quote, other woman?
Well, yes, of course they did. And I can recall a time that I was in a bar and I was just sitting there on the bar. It was a local, you know, bar, and I was just sitting there talking to this guy, and then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened, but we were not planning on, far as I know, I wasn't planning on going nowhere with this man, and I didn't know that his woman was in the bar, but this woman come up, she broke the effing glass and cut me across my damn face, and for the longest, I still got shards of glass in my right chin. You know, I don't know why these crazy ass... Excuse me. Just excuse me. Excuse me.
Take your time.
Wow. These women, you know, this is the first one. I mean, when I'm looking at my face, it's just that, you know, years ago you can actually see the scars in my face, you know. And it's about these women and these men. I don't know what the hell I did. you just got to excuse the language, but I don't know what the hell I was doing to these men, other than me being younger than these women, and maybe I was a threat. I served as a threat, but that's not the only one. You're right with all of these relationships. It came to damn trauma. It came to problem. No violence because they attacking me. Even Charles, my son's daddy, with this woman that she came after I did. Oh God, let me control my tongue. Because when I think about it, I ain't did nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. But anyway, yes, so it's 3 of them that attacked me. I know 2 of them really attacked me behind these men. And then if it ain't the damn men, it's the women.
Okay. So you have 2 scars on your left arm from a man.
Crazy.
Will you tell us about the 2 scars on your left arm?
That's from the guy that was like 22 years my senior. And what had happened, when I got evicted, this man, he was all right, but I was attracted to this old man. But we got to fighting because he took my rent money and he gambled it off, and then I was being evicted. And what happened with that is that he had this boner knife because he was a chef, and this mug, he came at me and then shielded my face, and my chest, because I think he was meant to cut me all up. But he got my left arm, and I got these damn I ain't finna show you, but they right here as evidence, and it's just like a constant. It's a constant. And also it was stuff that, because he was hitting me so darn hard. Like I said, he was aiming to cut me up in my chest and places. So yes, so that was violence because he stole my rent money. He was living at my place.
Right. Now, I want to just, go back just for a second into the memory that you have about your mother and Oz. And Oz was the father of your brothers and sisters that came after you and Andre, right?
Okay.
And so, Oz was physically abusing your mother,
Abusive
right?
to my mother, yes.
And Big Daddy, her father, gets up, goes over to Oz's, and was like, if you ever do this again to my daughter,
I'm going to kill you.
I'm going to kill you. Mm-hmm. And Oz never touched her again.
But that was the end of it because they separated.
Right.
It was shortly after that because I can vaguely remember when she walked, and we didn't live far from my grandparents' house, her and Oz, and she walked after he had beat her in a slip in all this snow.
Right.
So that's what happened, and my Big Daddy went over there and approached him.
Right. And where I'm going with this is that during all this abuse that you've experienced, you did not have a protector like that to go over and say, no more.
No, I didn't.
So I just wanted to bring that up because I made a connection with that. Nobody during all of this was protecting Rosalyn. Nobody.
No.
So then these men, as the story goes, start getting intertwined with each other. They know each other. And so then we have a man who comes into your life named Chill. That's what we call him in the book. And Chill has an altercation between Charles.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a pretty violent
It was going to turn violent. It could have turned very violent.
So just discuss that a little bit with us.
I don't know how my baby, I was in the car with Chill going to pick Marcus up from my grandma's house. And here come Charles. So it was just like, the two guys in the two cars, and then they wondering what car am I getting in, and they got out and they started arguing and fussing, and then it could have been very violent because Chill pulled the gun on Charles, because Charles was saying that I was going with him because it was his son, you know. But it's just so, when I think about it, this is just bringing up this stuff. But when I think about, from the ages like 19 to 21, it was just all of these dang relationships with these unhealthy men. And then it's like Charles was still a constant. Chill went away. Everybody went away. But it was just that, it was nuts. It was just nuts. And all he did was give me a ride to pick up my son, And then he was married.
Did any bullets
No
off?
bullets. He just showed the damn gun. It's just violence. It's just
Were you
mean.
scared?
Was I scared? I was just sitting back, what's happening, I guess I was just so darn naive. I don't know. And I know that alcohol was there. I know alcohol was a constant. It was always there.
Who'd you get in the car with?
I got in the car with Chill, who took me to get my baby.
Okay.
Because I already know what Charles wanted. He just wanted to have sex.
Okay.
When this Charles thing first started, it was just me and Charles. But as I got older, it was other men. So I already knew. Like I said, the only relationship with me and Charles, my son's daddy, was sex. That's all.
Okay.
So I knew. So I got in the car that I came in.
Now I want to talk about a man who you call Cutthroat. And Cutthroat was a man who you pretty much went off on. You had a lot built up inside from all this other abuse. And tell us a little bit about what happened.
Is this the one that I cut his throat? Okay. This happened when, at this time, I didn't have Marcus. I didn't have my Coco with me. But what was going on with this guy is that, he's a little bitty scrawny old man, and here I am. And it happened on the 4th of July. And he had already was fighting with me a couple of days prior to that. And, this was the first, just physical, like constant physical fighting. And then I just let him hit on me and crap. So on the 4th of July, I said I wasn't doing it no more. And so I took a damn bottle and I cut it, and I came like 2 or 3 inches from his damn jugular. And it was a Saturday, and what make it so bad, he didn't even take his ass he didn't go to the hospital. But I was done. I was done with him putting his hands on me. I was done with the name calling, and you staying in my house, supposed to be my boyfriend, and you saying all of these, calling me all these darn names, And he's just as much as a drunk as I was. But, he wanted to hit me. I didn't know how to hit back. And I believe my mother had said that it was something wrong. Well, how am I letting something so small give me these damn black eyes? And I believe that was the trigger that made me hurt that man the way I did, which it was not intended. But the same thing about the stabbing with my brother. Leave me alone, leave me alone. And when they wouldn't leave me alone, my only way out, and with him, I wasn't supposed to go so deep, but stop it. Because like I said, he was a short stature like me.
And somehow the police got wind of this.
A couple of days later,
And
the detectives, because he finally went to the hospital, I guess.
Right. And then they show up on your front porch.
And we sitting there drinking.
And
I'm sitting right next to him, and he did not identify. He didn't say anything. And like the detective said, well, if she show up, because then they didn't have pictures like they do today. They just going on somebody's whim, And if she show up, just have her give us a call, But he did not press charges. And believe it, I really felt bad because I almost killed the person, I really feel bad about that guy,
Yeah.